The day we lost my first dog was a really horrible one. Lucy was the rock of our family and had been there ever since I could remember anything. It was so hard to sort through the emotions of sadness and grief, but I really do feel like it is imperative to let yourself feel those things in order to move on. There unfortunately is not a roadmap to dealing with death, but what I discovered with Lucy was that it helped me so much more to think about what a happy life we did give her. Her life was one filled with cuddles, yummy food, and pure love, and she gave me so many happy memories and never let me feel alone. What I learned from Lucy perfectly ties in with the main point of my speech, and that is, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Although our lives can present major challenges and tests of character, ultimately the personal growth and inner peace gained from these tests is worth the pain. I will be referencing 3 stories which follow the same moral theme and strive towards teaching the world that sometimes a different outlook on life can really inflict real positive change. The first story that I'll be focusing on is one of my favorite movies, Django Unchained. The story begins with a slave named Django in the 1800s who has his freedom paid for by a traveling doctor. Cruelly separated from his wife, Django embarks on a journey to find and save her from the clutches of a slave-owning plantation. Django finds himself having to submerge himself into the world he hates so much in order to free her. Though the road to the end of Django Unchained is full of treacherous encounters, Django ultimately learns that in the darkest of times, there can still be light. He finds this light in trusting a white man to get him to his wife and save her. To connect to my main point, Django is reunited with his wife, freed from slavery, and is an entirely changed man after his adventures. Even though what he went through was awful, it ultimately led him to a very fruitful ending. The second story that I'll be referencing is a novel called Unbroken. Set in the midst and latter half of World War II, Louis Zamperini, a former Olympic runner, is deployed to join the fight. After their flight en route to their destination is shot down, Louis and the other 2 surviving fellow soldiers find themselves stranded in a raft in the middle of the sea for months. Having barely survived starvation, dehydration, and sharks, they unfortunately find themselves found by a Japanese military ship. Louis is then sent to a Japanese prisoner of war camp, where the Japanese military treat American soldiers relentlessly, and the threat of death looms over his head every day. Ultimately, Louis learns through all the horror that the Brotherhood and his own fighting spirit is unbreakable. Throughout all the struggle, Louis remains true to himself and never breaks under the pressure of war. This also lends to the same theme of appreciating the events in our lives that test our character and spirit. The third and last story I will be referencing is the famous Disney movie called The Lion King. The story surrounds a young lion prince of the plains of Africa. After his father is murdered by his very own uncle in order to steal his throne, Simba finds himself exiled away from his mother and friends. Simba is then raised to adulthood by 2 unlikely allies, Timon and Pumbaa, a boar and meerkat. Through the loss of his father follows him for the rest of the movie, Simba becomes the lion that his father always envisioned him being, and his spirit grows stronger than ever before. Without the events that shaped him, Simba would not have accomplished taking the throne back from Scar and restoring happiness and life back to the plains of Africa that he was born to rule. All 3 of these stories restate the point that without going through the hard parts of life and using those parts to form yourself into a better person, there would be a lot less growth in your life. Django, Louis, and Simba all stand to make the argument that it is better to see the good and the bad of our lives and use it as fuel to grow in character and resilience. Though my story at the beginning is not as drama-filled or nail-biting as these other beloved stories, I still gained so much knowledge and understanding of myself from a little Shih Tzu who helped raise me. Thank you.